things that you're wanting to do, that deals with the what? Children's ministry, food ministry, food pantry ministry. But the next level is, how do we get this done? What are the goals that we need to set, the action steps to make sure that it becomes a reality? So let's hear some ideas that you have. Let's start this time over here with this group. Give us some ideas on goal setting for those things that you mentioned earlier.
As I mentioned to you earlier, I feel like we kind of jumped ahead a little bit, and we did set ourselves some goals, getting some systems in place, and getting the right people to help with that, since it's an area I lack, and implementing it through regular meetings. So we took it a little bit step further, and started working on the how of doing it. So we talk about it. Again, we talk about getting the right information, resourcing some of those things to get some leadership packets together, getting some training implemented. Because my ultimate goal is to begin to raise up leaders that can raise up leaders. And so then bring on some accountability.
Can I jump right there?
Sure.
Which, by the way, is the litmus test of leadership development. It's when you raise up leaders who are now developing leaders. You've turned the corner, and now leadership development is happening consistently. So that's really good.
It's not easy.
It's not easy,
It's
absolutely.
not easy at all. Everybody doing it is easier, that's right. And with that, to find those leaders, I think there's some things that are going to have to be necessary. They're going to have capacity to do that, to be able to raise up other leaders. There would have to be somebody that would be willing to be in covenant relationship, because that's what it's going to take for them to raise up other leaders to understand that. Somebody that would come under accountability on those things, and somebody that could pick up the training, somebody that could understand what's being taught. So that's kind of where we're at.
Very good. Do you have any discussion on theme?
We did. First thing I jotted down was Church of Today, Becoming Leaders for Tomorrow. Just started brainstorming. I don't know if they wrote anything down or not. But we did discuss this. Gathering church for today, developing leaders for tomorrow. And then, to even further simplify it, I like to use alliteration as often as I can. It's catchy and sticky. But gathering, growing, and then the third one we kind of struggle to find something to start with a G.
All right, good. That's great discussion. Love the practical steps. That's, coming away with some really practical ideas and pursuing those. All right, the group back here in this corner. Brother Moore? Sister Moore?
I yield to the associate pastor.
All right.
Because he took the lead.
There we go. We write that one down.
Absolutely.
We have we kind of on our theme as far as our theme will be with developing the leader within 2019.
Good.
But and then we'll have some form, we'll have a banner that gives our theme and what our statement is. We're looking to create skills, create the skills, characters, competencies, but consistency in our leadership, in the direction that we have, whatever we're going to be, we'll be consistent in. train them how to become a leader. Everybody has something that they can do in leadership.
Man, I'm getting excited. It's like, whoa, this is good. This is great. Good stuff. Wow. I want to go to your church.
Come on, brother.
That's awesome.
Hey, we let anybody go there.
Not everybody stays there.
Talk real quick, I know we'll get to this too, but talk real quick about the idea that he just mentioned with character, chemistry, and competency.
You know, identifying leaders, you know, that'd be one way to qualify them. Part of our job is if we're going to be a training center, our church is our training center, but it's up to us to qualify them. So one of the ways that Bill Hybel mentions in his book from, I think, Courageous Leaders, is character, competency, and chemistry. Chemistry has to do with their people skills. There's lessons and training that can be done on having better people skills. So if you got somebody that's on the greeter team who's not very good at it, rather than throw them out, you could train them how to smile, how to do what you got to do, right? And competency has to do with their skills and abilities. What do they bring to the table? And then, of course, their character, who they are as a person. And those are all the things that we're concerned about when we want to put people in ministry. You know, you don't want the piano player fooling around with somebody they shouldn't be fooling around with. So the idea is there, that goes back to the standards of Scripture. What is it? What are the standards to serve in our church? And so we can say this is what a Christian looks like. That they're not going to be double-tongued. They're going to be faithful. They're going to be. So by having that as a standard, I can go out and say, now I know what I have to look for. And many times, there have been people who had great skill and ability, but had bad character, which meant they weren't ready yet. So I wouldn't put them in ministry yet. That was the litmus test, if you will. How's their character? And sometimes, as you know, people can tell you all the right things. It's going to take a little time to make sure they can develop that. So that becomes a metric, so a way of measuring whether or not someone, so rather than saying anyone can be involved, and I think I said this earlier on, but, you know, somebody said, well, if you come to my church and you're not born again, can you serve in the church? Well, I'm like, can they cut the grass? Yeah. They cut the grass, they're not going to preach, they're not going to, you know, they might not be on one of our ministry teams, they're not going to be on the prayer altar team, but if we can separate some of the natural skills and abilities from their spiritual gifts, then we're going to make room for everybody, even though they might not be where I want them to be initially. So character, chemistry, and competency are those three areas that I can make sure that I'm vetting them well when they want to get involved in our area. And then I can be honest with them. Hey, listen, we've got a class on character, how to form Jesus Christ within you, and that's discipleship. And then you have to have leaders that model that for them, and et cetera, et cetera. So then skills, you know, there's a lot of people, again, who have skills come from the outside. One of the things we talked about was, you know, a lot of us who are visionary leaders, we need to have administrative engineer-type minds around us who think numbers and details. I'm not always the detail guy, but I like being around Dr. Wayman because he is. Well, we can't all have Dr. Wayman, but in one way we can. Because the systems that he's creating can be that administrative person for us. So if he's on the teaching team, for instance, if his ministry gives us a teacher, you know, for $70 to $50, I can get that tab over there, and I can have all the things that he's done so far as life's teaching, and we can actually have that. It's written down already. All I got to do is recopy it and develop it. So it's learning the different gifts that are available to be on your team, and you don't need a staff person right now. Typically, the average church, you know, they said that you need about 100 people almost to take care of one full-time pastor, at least as far as to provide for him. And so about 150, 200, you're going to need another staff member. Well, you don't want another staff member just like you. I would find somebody who's got the opposite set of skills I have to really build that kind of team. And so
That's awesome. And that's why the volunteer process that you're talking about is so important, because at the size church of 100 or less, you're not going to have a bunch of paid staff. It's going to be a volunteer organization that you'll have to raise up people and develop them and equip them, and they're giving up their time, talent, and treasure. The character idea, I like to say, getting the who before the do. That is more important than what you do. That's the foundational level. So good stuff. This group,
Our goals for both of our items earlier are pretty similar in developing, like for children's ministry, developing, set ages, what classes, how many classes do we want to have, what age groups do we
Good.
want to have. And then from there, developing a system of, this is the qualification of being a teacher. This is our goal in children's ministry for
Good.
said year. And same for a greeting/meeting, just developing what does that look like? Birthday calls, shut-ins need to have dinner brought, whatever it is.
Yes,
Just developing that system and then finding the ones that want to do those ministries and developing them into that ministry.
It's very good.
So really just systematic.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're diving deep.
you're drilling down in to the next steps, to the action steps for that. Anything on theme?
What?
Jamie?
Don't jump with that
Jamie.
one. Be
Spend our time.
very great. There you go, be strong and great. No, actually, so we were joking around as a theme of it all comes back to pie. But when you think about it, it does, right? So we talk about meeting with your pastor for pie, right? Well,
Yeah.
everything takes meeting up and making that commitment to back up on something and have that commitment to be there for it. So it really does all come back to pie.
I'm a pie guy, too. You say slice and ice cream and pie, I'm there.
I thought you meant 3.14. Around the circle.
Yeah.
You said pie, pastor interactive involvement.
Well, there you go.
Hi, good job. Great.
I'll charge you for that.
Since you kind of give us that, you're probably right.
I did.
I know it better.
It's great when you can start using acronyms and acrostics like that to help you remember. In fact, that's really good. If I were to summarize for you what you need to really have coming out of this session, I would say you need to really be thinking about theme for next year, for 2018. You have 6 months to develop from here to the beginning of 2018 what your theme is going to be. I wouldn't unveil it. I wouldn't unveil it until 2018, or you could, if you're just chomping at the bits and you want to get going, back to school time. August, mid-August, September. And whenever you unveil your theme, preach on that for several weeks. Because the congregation needs to grab ownership of that. There's all kinds of great themes. I love the theme, developing the leader within, and those types of themes. I'm not a big advocate on the kind of grow all the G's, because it's hard for people sometimes to grab all of that. There's a lot there. In fact, the best themes that I've actually seen are one-word themes. Like this year, our theme for 2017 is together. And so everything that we're preaching about this year is together. Together we pray. Together we evangelize. Together we, touch. Together, we're unified. So the whole year, the whole pulpit calendar actually revolves around that one word. So you can, sometimes you can break it down to, something like that is one word. Unified or united or, grow. Or, you can consolidate it down to something as simple as that. But that becomes the touch point for your spiritual growth for that year. And it's not something you leave at the beginning of the year. You're able to approach it and process it all the way through the year. You keep coming back to it. You see tangible growth in people's lives because it gets down in their spirit. So from that, then you're able to share those goals. So, together, this is our theme. This year, here are some of our goals. Together, we're going to evangelize and do this. Together, we're going to raise the level of our children's ministry. So from your theme, then you begin to vision cast those key goals. And then pastors, if you haven't done it, I want to reiterate that. Think about your pulpit calendar. What it does for you, how it helps you is the Spirit of the Lord speaks to you not just about a moment, but about a season. And if I know I'm going to be preaching on together in parenting or together in marriage and family, then whenever I'm reading articles or I'm reading scripture and something stands out, I may not preach on that for 5 months, but I take that nugget or that tidbit that I received from the Lord and I stick it in that file for that series. If I'm preaching on evangelism or missions and God gives me something, I'm not waiting until I get there to come up with the material to preach that. I'm already taking what God's given me and I'm placing it in that folder. So when I get to that series on missions, man, I've got a whole lot of research and God revelation that He's already provided for me. All I have to do is pull it out, have Him speak to me, organize it, deliver it. And now preaching becomes easier. And you're preaching, it's easier, it flows better, you're preaching it over a process of time, you're not feeling pressured. One of the things I try to work on a lot is keep it simple. You're going to preach for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, keep it simple. You don't have to give a double-barrel shotgun all at the same time. You have next week, next Sunday, next service. So give them, if they leave wanting more, you've done your job. If they leave wanting more, that's what you want. You don't want them to leave full and satisfied. You want them to leave wanting more. And so those are the 3 things, theme, goals, and pulpit calendar, that I want you to take away in this first session. Questions? Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wrote this down and mentioned in our group that we had that I'm concerned, or I'm wondering what your thoughts would be. We have a lot of leaders in our church that are a lot of former leaders in our church that are no longer working in the church. How do you repurpose those stagnant leaders?
That's good. Want to address that?
I think, again, I would go back to a strategy, and that is gather them and talk about it. Have a leader focused on those leaders. That's kind of their mission. Find somebody who feels a call to repurposing these leaders. Hey, listen, you guys have been in the ministry for a long time, but you know a lot of information. That would be a small group for me. Get a small group, a care lead pastor or somebody that would spend time with them and motivate them and put some more fire on that gasoline on the fire, and begin to include them again. Maybe a lot of times as they're getting older, maybe that's part of it, as some of them getting older, maybe that's where some of my prayer leaders are going to come out of again. If they're getting older and they can't do what they used to do, but they're mature, well then we've got to figure out a way to, we want prayer while the pastor's preaching. I know John Maxwell's church, he always had a group of people praying while he was preaching. And he called it his prayer partners. So part of it is having a strategy of what to do with some of these people like that. And so, hey guys, here's what we're needing. Every time one of our ministers is preaching, we want a prayer team that's going out praying for them at that moment, at that time. Would you guys be willing to be a part of this and share the video? So all of a sudden, you're just basically taking what's already there and repurposing it. And I think that's just a way that I look at all the ministries in our churches. Are they doing what they're doing and it's just maintaining? Or is it accomplishing what it was sent out to do? Are they accomplishing what they should be doing? And in that case, to me, it would be a great group of guys to go after, gals, guys, that would plug them into something new and fresh and make them feel part of something new. Any other questions?
Okay, so quarter one, exceeded leadership. We're going to move to the second quarter for 30 minutes, okay? If you'll give us 30 to 45 minutes, we'll close and we'll come back and finish this quarter off tomorrow morning. So I'm passing out the second quarter on Exceed in Evangelism. Some of you, Brother and Sister Maury, your church, you're already zoned in some of this particular area, so this will be some easy discussion points for you. This is the third system. You look at leadership, apostle, prophet, evangelist, has to do with the area of how you do outreach. So I'm going to have Pastor David come back and lead this discussion time in just a few minutes. He's going to have you move to your huddle times, and the ultimate goal there at the bottom of the page is where we want to end up tomorrow morning, where now that you have a good idea, some potential seeds for your theme, the whole idea is how do you now connect outreach to what you want to do as a church with your theme and your goals. Okay? Because if what you're doing as a church thematically doesn't reach the lost, it's falling short. Okay, so let's take the idea of developing the leader within. So the challenge will be, how do you then connect that to outreach and evangelism? So that'll be something you'll talk to. Come lead us in this.
So one of the examples of this would be is I would get into a prayer closet and I would pray and say, what's the need? I could be close to it, I could be off, I could be right on, but the fact of the matter is, strategically, one of the challenges that we have is what are the felt needs in my community? So for instance, I went and did a bunch of research in our city, and I found out that one of the needs that wasn't being met wasn't food. There were plenty of food pantries. There were plenty of places where you could get clothes. There was a huge need in our community where people they didn't have personal care items. Deodorant, laundry soap, toothpaste, so all of a sudden I found a niche that wasn't being met in our community, so we prayed about it, and we said this is the area that we're going to do. So we began to collect personal need items. So it was everything from toilet paper. People, they had maybe, what do you call it, within the government, they would provide so much food for you, but they didn't provide some of the practical stuff. So all of a sudden, we said we're going to meet that need. And sure enough, people from all over the city were sending people over to us. So the question is, it's not, we're going to pray and ask God what we need, but have we done our due diligence to find out what are the needs in the community that we're serving in? Within 30 miles of your church, have you gone out, have you looked, have you really evaluated, have you been in with enough people to determine what the real needs are, or are you just thinking that you know they are because you got one person in your church that told you what you think they are, and wonder why you don't have more people participating? We had people literally would be waiting outside of our church before we'd open up to get their personal care items once we found out that it was a real need. So what are the felt needs in your community? Now someone's going to have to go around and find that out. Pray it out, search it out, figure it out. I heard one ministry, they had a bunch of widows in the area, or single moms. They couldn't afford to get their oil changed on their car. So a group of mechanics got together and said, look, every Saturday we'll change oil for single moms. And sure enough, that became a huge ministry outreach because these women didn't do it. And this service was being met at the church, et cetera, et cetera. But part of it is we want to pray and ask the Lord, but we really want to go out where the people are and find out those felt needs. The second thing is, this was an important one, You know, we know, sometimes it feels like in our local churches, you know, we got the best thing going on in the world. The problem is, not everyone's here getting it. So, how does the world, how do those outside our church view our church? Trying to get our head wrapped around how do people see from the outside, not just what we have on the inside. And so how does your community view your ministry or your church? In other words, does your community know you exist? Would anyone outside your congregation miss your ministry or church if it ceased to exist? A lot of times churches are doing all this stuff internally, but no one has any idea. Has anyone gone out to the neighborhood which you've lived in and put hangers on the doors, or took them a pie, or did something creative in order to engage them? This past year, one of the things that we did is I got frustrated as a pastor, and our attendance on my Wednesday night service, midweek service, started decreasing. And I'm preaching my heart out as if I was preaching to 10,000, but so here's what I said. I said, we're going to quit going to church, and we're going to be the church. And I got a little frustrated, and I said, here's what we're going to do. And we got a group of people together, and I went out in the community, found out a bunch of needs in the community, and every Wednesday night for June, July, and August, our church meets. We have t-shirts on the same. We had a local restaurant provide a dinner for us, and we go work for 2 or 3 hours helping our community, whether it was a government facility, whether it was a daycare center, and we went and did their landscaping or painted their building, and we basically went outside and worked. And I'm telling you what, it caught fire through our town, and now we got people calling us requesting that we'll be on their list. And then, of course, had a lot of people mad because we weren't teaching the Word of God. But the fact of the matter is, it was like, listen, you guys need to do with the Word that's in you. Nothing worth with getting overindulged and being so full of yourself. So this was a huge move for us, and we took some heat from it. But I'll tell you what, we got more people volunteering, more people donating things, more people in the community getting involved, and there were more people coming to our church because of those outreach, because they said those people really care. And of course, I stole that idea from another church out in California. So, you can steal whatever you want. So you get what I'm saying? These are the kind of questions when we talk in our huddle time. How do people view your church? What are the felt needs in your community? And then let's provide some ways that you can connect your ministry and the church to the needs and the interest of your community. All right, so let's break that up. We'll talk about that in our group real quickly. What are the felt needs? Okay. Do people know we exist? Could be bad. There could be some negative things going on there. And what do we have to do about it? And then finally, what are some practical ways that we can connect the ministry out there to the people in our church? This will be our evangelism piece. So let's break up into our groups and work on this for a few.